You know, Mike, it's very interesting. It's only been in the last number of years that Akashic Records have come to the forefront of individuals' better understanding. And it is a great pleasure to have an individual that has had 25 plus years in better understanding what the Akashic Records are. She's an educator, a teacher, an author. She's a consultant. And it's our pleasure to have Lisa Barnette. Lisa Barnette is, as I said, an Akashic teacher and consultant. And she's going to give us a lot of information about the Akashic Records.
Great.
And so we want to welcome you, Lisa. Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, that's always a big question, right?
I understand.
You know, I was actually one of those people, and I'm sure that some of your listeners can relate to this. Some of us were born in that kind of interesting awake sort of state. So when I was about 3 years old, I had this experience that I realized I was trapped in a body. And I actually said to my mother, I want to go home. I want to go back. I really was not interested in being embodied at that point. So as I moved into my teenage years, I was blessed to be living in California, to have pretty kind of awake and esoteric sorts of parents. And I started reading everything I could get my hands on, kind of in the new age spiritual world. So, you know, after having this very kind of odd 3-year-old awakening experience and thinking, holy moly, I'm trapped in a body, as I was old enough, as a really 12, 13, 14-year-old, I started to read all of the esoteric books I could get my hands on. And timing-wise, I was quite blessed, and I would, of course, you know, say that this was all a soul plan, as a soul are about with the Akashic Records. But I was living in California in the late 60s, early 70s, and there was a lot of books that were coming out about meditation, Eastern sort of spirituality. Baba Ram Dass had just written his first book, Be Here Now. Literally, the Beatles were starting to write songs and work with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and transcendental meditation was big. So all of those were very useful as I was a teenager, really awakening, looking for information. And I found lots of books about reincarnation, and I thought, thank heavens I'm not crazy, right? There's all other people have written books all about this. And so I even went on and minored in philosophy at the university. So it's always been a very strong calling in my life.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. So how did you get involved in the Akashic Records to the level that you're out now as an educator and a consultant? How did that
There's a lot of different ways you could go studying those type of things.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so again, what happened is, after all my philosophy, after my university, I ended up going into advertising. I thought, well, you know, what do I want to do with my career? I had studied photography, and I ended up in advertising, which is a really high stress, fast-moving kind of job. Again, I'm living in California in the 70s and 80s. It was a little bit of a wild time here. I had a lot of fun until, you know, it just kind of wore me out. I realized this was not a very spiritual path. I had this very spiritual kind of awareness as a child, and I had given it up for kind of the world of corporate, you know, America and money. So what happens for many of us, and I know I'm not the only one because I've done so many Akashic, you know, consultations and healings for clients who have become physically ill with, you know, variety of different kinds of diseases or, you know, issues that show up. Mine was chronic fatigue that really stopped me from working in the corporate world. And I ended up going back and working with an acupuncturist, and actually finally starting to work with an energy healer who said to me, "You're a healer. You know, you're not on your path." And I said, "No, I'm in advertising. What do you mean I'm a healer? What are you, nuts?" You know? And she kind of shrugged and said, "Well, you know, your soul's plan was to be a healer, teacher, guide." And I just thought, well, I guess I have this, you know, kind of past from my high school and college, my childhood. And so as time went on, I actually started to study energy healing, intuitive readings. And what progressed out of that was I was very conscious and aware of the Akashic Records. But my energy healer teacher, my psychic teacher, taught us that we were able to go to the doors of the Akashic Records, but you weren't allowed in.
Oh,
so remember, this is a while ago, and this was the truth for 1,000 years, that we were not allowed to enter the Akashic Records because 1,000 years ago we misused the information. So she was still teaching this kind of old esoteric information. So I was going up to the gates of the Akashic Records and saying, "Please, sir, may I have some healing energy for my client?" And I would see this energy come in. And then every once in a while, and what I realized later on was when I connected to a high vibrational client, our two high vibrations, we would actually go into the Akashic Records kind of inadvertently. And what would happen is I would get big information. I would get information about past lives, about karma, about past life vows, about soul contracts, soul plans, you know, purposes. Like, that was amazing. That was so much bigger, deeper, broader than anything I ever received as an energy healer, intuitive, psychic, kind of that world. So when I realized that the Akashic beings of light, the record keepers, were inviting me in and talking to me, I said, how can I get here easily instead of hit or miss? How do I do this consciously? And that's actually when I met someone who said, "Oh, I can actually teach you how to do this consciously. You can, you know, work with these vibrational keys to do this, you know, to access your own Akashic Records with ease." And so that was just life transforming for me. So as soon as I started to be able to consciously every day open my own records and say, okay, what am I here to do? What would you like me to do? What's part of my soul path? What can I heal? What are my blocks? All these kind of questions, very question-driven kind of work. The Akashic Masters started to say to me things like, open a school, write a book, bring this work out to the world.
Oh, very good. Very good.
And I just listened.
So what are the Akashic Records? And I guess that would go with a few questions, or just how does it work? Okay, it's like a record of your life and all that kind of thing. Do they change over time? Can they be changed? Or, you know, that's the thing. You get advice. Can you change your path, or do they have this other path for you? I guess, how does that work?
Yeah.
What are they, and how do they work?
Okay, yeah, fabulous question. Thank you. So each person has their very own Akashic record. So if you imagine it as a library, I like the library image because, of course, all of us have been to a library. So you can imagine being in a room with all of these books. So if you imagine that most people live hundreds of lives, So that would mean hundreds of books in your library for your earth room, right? So you might have 400, 600 books in your earth library. And there are librarians, divine beings of light, that keep your records for you. They assist you. So if you go into the Akashic Records, into your library, and you speak to your record keepers, you could say, help me to find the past life that that has wisdom about, say, writing a book. I want to write a book. Have I ever written a book? Show me that past life. How can I reclaim that
good.
information and that wisdom? So we can reclaim past life information and wisdom, as well as we can say what might be blocking me, what may be creating fear around writing that book. And so they may show you or tell you about a past life in which you were very controversial, and maybe you were run out of town or stoned to death. And we want to clear that past life energy, because literally what it is stuck old pain. So yes, in some ways, Mike, we literally do change, rewrite, shift our records by learning and understanding the lessons.
You know, it's kind of the whole,
this old pain.
right, it's kind of the whole destiny versus free will.
Right. We have free will. I mean, that's what the Akashic Masters say, is that we write a soul plan, but it's still all based on free will. So you may say, I'm going to go to Earth and I want to become, a teacher guide, like so I'll use me as an example. Obviously, it's easy because I know it. So, I thought I was here to be a photographer or to, do that sort of work. And of course, it's part of my soul path. It was part of what I did. It still serves me today in bringing my work out into the world. But my bigger soul plan was to be an Akashic teacher and guide, and to help to bring the Akashic record information to the world, because I've done in many other lifetimes. So for me, it was about getting over the hump that was just too weird, or that nobody knows what the Akashic Records are, or how could I teach that, or, all of my own personal fears and blocks. So working through those, learning about that, was so important in my world. So I could choose to do this work or not. I could just have stayed in the corporate world and been a mom and been a wife and, lived a kind of muggle sort of life. I could have lived a very normal life. I was always trying really hard to be normal. It's still tempting even today. I sometimes think, oh my gosh, this is so much work. Why don't I just retire already, right? But it's not my heart's desire. It's not my soul's desire. So we get to choose.
We've had another guest on.
If we follow our heart and our soul.
We had another guest on that said that certain things are blocked because of past life vows. You may have taken a vow of celibacy or poverty or something like that. So you would go to the Akashic Records and find that life that had that. How is that cleared? Is just knowing that you made that vow enough to clear it, or do you have to say something, or what?
Well, the way I work in the records, because I'm a healer by nature, when the Akashic Record Keepers suggested that I start a school, one of the things they wanted me to do is teach people how to clear energy. So in a simple way, just by moving into the high divine vibration of your Akashic field, working with your Akashic Record Keepers, they will help you to clear and release those vows. And I teach my students, and as a consultant and healer, I will go outside of time and space into those past lives where I can erase the pain, the physical pain, the emotional pain and trauma. We can detangle beliefs and unconscious beliefs that may be in that life, in other lifetimes. Sometimes they're ancestral beliefs or childhood unconscious beliefs. And so when I work around, say, money and vows of poverty, which are super common for spiritual people, most of us, if we're on a spiritual type path, we've been monks and nuns and priests and ascetics. We've taken vows of poverty, and along with them, often vows of chastity and vows of obedience, right? So it's a big thing to clear. It's very important. And so I would say that you can clear it on different levels. I like to kind of teach the deeper levels and do that work for my clients. But I also find for many of us, just by bringing it into our consciousness, by doing what some forms of healing call witnessing, just by knowing that that's true for you. Sometimes we feel it in our body. We get goosebumps or shivers. We know that that's, oh my gosh, that I get that's true. That's a lot of that energy moving out of your field. So it doesn't have to be complicated. Your Akashic record keepers, your beings of light, are here. I've written a new book. I'll even show that. It's called From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life.
Very good.
And it's available on Amazon, and in it, there is a prayer to release past life vows. So what the Akashic Masters have done is given me 73 healing prayers for all sorts of situations in life. Everything from vows to guilt to shame, ancestral energy, prayers of forgiveness, prayers to clear your energy space.
So you've had 73 prayers for almost every occasion. I think that's good. I've seen many websites, and your website, akashicknowing.com, is one of the better ones that have a variety of different things available. You even have a free book, Prayers of Self-Love gift book. And the only thing that you asked is that they sign up. And how we found out about you, I'm a registered individual with your website, and you're very good about different kinds of things, kinds of information. So you have an excellent website.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
And I know that you also have another book, Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records. It was your first book, correct?
Yes, yeah. So let's show you that one. So the Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records is a how-to book. It literally teaches you how to access your own Akashic records. So if you're called to go deeper into this, in the 5-step wisdom prayer system that the Akashic beings of light, that the record keepers have given me, is literally in this book, step by step, how to access your records through the 5-step wisdom prayer system, with exercises, meditations, just tons of information. And then if people are just more interested in kind of in this moment doing some of their personal transformation and healing, the From Questioning to Knowing, the 73 prayers to transform your life. Or, of course, you can get them both on Amazon, so maybe you want them both.
Well, your website, I really wish to guide the individuals to go to your website, because not only do you have those books, you have information about your consultation, And when you sit down with individuals, it's my understanding you either do it by phone or by Skype.
Yes.
And you're open to anyone in the world. And I think that's very good. You also have some teleseries coming up. Want to talk a little bit about, like for instance, on March the 10th, you have a powerful Beyond Measure Telesummit. What's that?
Well, again, kind of it'll be an interview about the Akashic Records. Good. And on this woman, Cindy's telesummit, I believe she has about 27 different spiritual speakers, people like John Gray, who wrote, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. He'll be part of the telesummit. So Marcy Shimoff, Happy for No Reason and Love for No Reason. Some very well-known authors will all be speaking. And of course, they're, recorded so people can go back. But so if you're on a spiritual path and you want to learn more about all sorts of different healing tools, books that you can read, Cindy's book, Cindy's telesummit, Powerful Beyond Measure, is a great place to connect to a lot of well-known authors and spiritual teachers also, as well as my interview on there. And so it's very fun. I'm doing a local 3-day chakra conference here in California near San Francisco, April 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Oh,
so if
fantastic.
people are, local in the San Francisco Bay Area, or people will be flying in. So I like to do a variety of different events, whether some of them are online. I teach my Akashic Record class, Learning to Access Your Own Records, as an online program and as a home study program. So people can either catch it live when I'll be teaching it again in July, or they can really buy and download a pre-recorded program. And of course, my book is available. But a lot of people, with the pre-recorded programs, it's 12 hours of me teaching so much information, healing meditations, clearing energy, answering questions, really going very deep in that 12-hour home study course. So, I've really been called to offer a variety of different work. I have a great home study course, which is called Transform Your Limiting Money Beliefs. So it's really healing around all of your money issues, which go from, like we already spoke about, vows of poverty, our ancestral beliefs that money is bad, that you have to work hard for money. And so it's about a 6-hour healing program where I literally do the healing on this home study program for people so that they can clear a lot of these unconscious beliefs, because we have so many unknown, unconscious, hidden beliefs from this life, from our childhood, from our families, from our ancestry, from our past lives. So layers and layers and layers of information that are blocking us from receiving an abundant and creating an abundant life.
Boy, that's the truth.
Well, besides money, how about troublesome relationships or bad relationships and all that? Is there something you can say about that?
Oh boy, there's a lot I could say about that. So the fascinating thing is that every time we decide to come back into a human body, we write soul contracts, and they are a combination of contracts with people to support each other, to love each other, to have the wonderful, easy relationships. So some people get to write a lot of those. And some people, interestingly, want to learn and grow and finish up some karma, which is often just really about learning lessons and soul growth. And so sometimes we pick family members or relationships, even marriages or children, that we might consider more challenging. So, how often do you hear people say, I don't even know how I got born into this family. I don't know I don't feel like I belong here at all, right? I hear that sort of thing very often. And they are karmic contracts that we want to finish. We want to learn how to see these different types of people as divine souls. We want to support them in their soul growth. So you may be of a higher vibration, more spiritually advanced, more aware. And as a soul, you've chosen to help these people, these souls, grow and change and remember the truth of who they are. So often we can do that by being born into a family. Sometimes those soul contracts have to do with karma, which can be challenging, painful, even traumatic. I know a lot of the light workers have grown up in, I'd say even 70% of my light worker friends have grown up in some sort of abusive family, whether it's emotional abuse or physical abuse or even sexual abuse. And what we're doing is, by coming to understand and be aware of the divinity of ourselves and every soul, we come into a place of a heart-centered forgiveness. And what we're literally doing is, as we're healing the pain and trauma for ourselves, we're healing it for the world, for humanity. So when we do our own work, when we do our own healing work, it's never selfish. It's never just for you. It's really about stopping these old abusive paradigms from going forward in the world. So kind of the old saying, the buck stops here. The buck is stopping with these spiritual light workers who are saying, I will not pass this abusive tendency on to my children or my family.
You know, you raised some excellent thoughts and some questions. I always wondered why individuals would decide to come into a war-torn society, or where there's constant abuse. For instance, in some third world countries, young ladies come into a situation where they're very, very much abused. Why
If they
would
look at a guy, they're stoned or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Why would they come into a world like that?
Well, you know, again, because we live hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives as a soul, we're seeing it as our work. Sometimes it's as our gift or our service to humanity. So there's kind of an interesting example that comes up. And again, you know, I live in California, and I'm going to say it was probably in the 90s, mid-90s. There was a little girl, I think a 12-year-old girl, who was abducted right out of her bedroom. Her name was Polly Klaas. And the police actually stopped a car. The car was pulled over, and apparently this little girl was out in the field with, you know, duct tape on her mouth. And the police stopped and went and talked to the man, and they left. So the police left this gentleman and this poor Polly Klaas girl in the field, unbeknownst to them, of course. And after she passed, her father worked with the mother of Amber, who had also been an abducted girl, and they started the Amber Alert on the freeways, I believe, all over the country now. It is a very, very fast response to abductions. And so the way the Akashic Masters explain that is that these beautiful souls, Polly and Amber, gave their lives to change an old paradigm.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, I often wonder, we in the United States tend to live like kings and queens. You know, we can go to our refrigerator and choose any kind of food that we put in there. We can go to the grocery store and just mountains of food, but we don't realize that at least a third to a half of the individuals are lucky to have one meal a day.
Yeah.
And when I grew up, I was taught that because of the reincarnation, we earned that right. But some of those paradigms are changing now. Like what you're saying is, we choose those lifetimes for a higher purpose too. Like
Yes.
Amber.
Yes.
And
Right. So when we can see it in that way, so there's, of course, there's a variety of layers and information. So again, it takes most humans, I'm going to say, 100 lifetimes to work through their karma. So sometimes we get stuck in our challenging lives to work through some of that karma.
I understand.
And, you know, to me, it only makes, when you would think that a person would have one life to be, how come one person is, you know, wealthy in New York and another person is starving to death in, you know, a third world country? How could that be fair? So that never made sense to me. So when the Akashic beings of light started to explain that most of us live 400, 500, 600, 800 lifetimes, it's a long process of learning and growth for us as souls here. And many of us get stuck in some pretty negative patterns and have a hard time breaking through it. So many times it's about us finishing that karma. So when I talk about being born into an abusive family, often that is a soul saying, I get it, I'm ready to finish this abuse, to do the forgiveness work, to see this person in a different life, to you know, stop the abuse from going forward in my family, you know, again. And so there is a higher calling, a higher service, really a higher reasoning that the soul has made. And again, I find when we work in the Akashic Records and I can share that with clients, and we can clear and release some of the physical pain, emotional pain, trauma from that childhood, because we don't want to ignore or negate that. It's very real, of course. But when they think, oh, I get it. I really agree. I believe I came to do something bigger, to be of service to humanity. And that's my great gift to humanity, is to help stop and end this abusive pattern. So, you know, thousands and thousands of people working on that pattern right now.
Just wonder, is there a way to move forward, you know, finish this life and reduce karma? Is there a way to release karma so we don't have to like carry this stuff to our next one?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's to me one of the great gifts of working in the Akashic Records. So the Akashic Record Keepers have given us a forgiveness prayer. And they say that the forgiveness prayer is one of the simplest ways to clear karma. And it's a threefold prayer. So we literally forgive others who have hurt us, whether they're conscious of it or not, because sometimes people are not conscious when they hurt us. We forgive ourselves for hurting other people in the same vein. Sometimes we're not so nice, or sometimes we say something or do something unconsciously that triggers someone else. So we hurt someone unconsciously. So we want to forgive ourselves for that. And we want to forgive ourselves for beating ourselves up every day. I mean, we're usually the hardest on ourselves,
that is
right?
true.
We can be so critical of ourselves. So the Akashic Record Keepers have suggested that we use the forgiveness prayer every single day. Many called to, as we really open our hearts, align to this divine wisdom, remember the truth of who we all are as souls, as divine light and wisdom. and we start to align that, our lives change. It's pretty amazing. I had a gentleman, he was, about a 65-year-old guy who was in real estate in Florida, and he had a real estate office with his brother. And he came to me for an Akashic consultation. He said, my brother's been angry with me for 15 years, and I don't know what to do about it. And so we opened his records. We did some clearing, cleared some old past life trauma and karma, some old vows that were stuck. And the Akashic Master suggested that he do the forgiveness prayer every day. And he decided he was going to do it for as long as it took. And 6 months later, he emailed me and he said, it's a miracle. Now, it took him 6 months for the miracle, but it's a miracle. He said, I did that prayer every day. And one day, after 6 months, my brother walked into the office and he said to me, well, I guess sometimes you just have to forgive.
Fantastic.
And that was that. He said he's having a hard time getting used to his brother being nice to him again after 50.
Yeah, it brings on all new problems. Now I have to buy birthday gifts for him now.
Right.
You make a very good point in the fact that just saying the prayer once and then expecting everything to be hunky-dory.
Yeah.
There has to be a lot of interest, passion, work,
intention.
towards. Yes.
And so saying the prayer probably also changes your mindset.
That's right. And
Yes.
getting out of the rut.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of really placing a lot of attention. Intent is good, but action is even better. And
Right.
to continue to life. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And really in the book From Questioning to Knowing, I talk a lot about all of these details about karma and clearing karma and vows. And kind of about them is that all of these prayers are imbued with the Akashic energy. So they're high vibrational prayers, and they're literally calling in the record keepers to help support you to clear and release and align. And what I know, when we repeat these things 2, 3, 4 times and do them every day, what the Akashic Masters like to remind us is that the feeling, that emotion, that passion is the fire. It is the fire under the rocket ship. It's what really propels our intention into the world. So just kind of having a whimsical intention isn't going to do anything.
You're right. I agree
it's
with
that passion, it's that energy, it's that purpose, that really emotional strength is the fire, is the propellant. So yeah, it's and some people write to me and they say, I said this prayer once or twice, and they have huge results. So I never want to say that you have to do it for 6 months, because so many of my clients and students find that, they may say something once or twice, maybe they repeat it 3 times, but they really have that intention and that passion. They know that this is true for them. And often we're at that kind of tipping point, right? So you hit that point where you're like, oh, I just flopped over. It was just fast and easy, right? And so sometimes the prayers work in one day, and sometimes you may do it every day for a week or for a month or for 6 months. It really is a lot about your consciousness, your karma, your emotions, all of that.
Now I wonder, besides people, can businesses or locations have Akashic records and bad mojo, if you want to say it that way? We live across the river from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, where the bridge fell in 1967. Silver Bridge, Mothman, all that. And supposedly there was an Indian killed there, Chief Cornstalk. And what I said, supposedly he cursed the area that would never become, fruitful or whatever you want to say. So would that be something that could be cleared through Akashic Records, or,
Yeah, that fascinating. It's a great question, because I do run into curses, which always, at first, it really surprised me. I'm like, really? Curses are real?
Yeah, they work.
And they are. So there's a variety of different kind of curses. Some might come from a really, almost a spiritual style, whether, it's Native American, or there's voodoo curses, of course, or gypsy kind of energy curses. And you can curse somebody with just enough hate and anger.
That is
you
true.
know so it doesn't have to be a spell or an incantation. It can really be just a lot of dark energy that you throw at someone that can actually damage their energy field and wound them and coat them in negative gunk that appears like kind of as a curse in their life that makes their life really challenging. So yes, when I work with people one-on-one, these are all things and information we can ask about in your Akashic Records and clear in your Akashic Records. Now, when it comes to your business, of course, your business is yours, and I do a lot of work with businesses, opening the Akashic Records of the business, opening the records of the owner, who I'm assuming is the client, and asking for guidance. What might be blocking me? Is this part of my soul path, and is this in alignment with the business's purpose and my purpose? So we can do a lot of great work around these sorts of things, like our business. If you have an existing business or start a business, I use the Akashic Records to channel my books, of course, and then to have them help me with my business. And everything has a record. So planet Earth has a record. That area, I don't know what you called it, Silver Bridge. What was that called?
Well, Point Pleasant. It's the confluence of the Kanawha River and the Ohio River. It's Point Pleasant. That's the point there.
Right. So, there are records of course, the earth and of earth energies and earth places. And there are people who are considered earth guardians, who are really here to specifically help clear the energy, help to connect ley lines, help to re-energize the grid lines around the earth, really activating, helping, and healing a lot of the energy lines and layers in the planet. So you could probably do some work around it. To me, I find that it's helpful if you have some connection to that. So if you have property in the Point Pleasant area, and it's your property, or maybe that's part of your soul path to be an earth guardian and heal these ley lines and grid lines, you could, with the assistance of the Akashic Records, see if you could clear the curses and move that energy.
Yeah, there's some places I see that a business will go in and fail, and I've seen there's a location that they've had 5 or 6 businesses in, and each of them have failed. So it's like, I wonder if there's something about that location.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So the way I would do it is, if that business owner said, I'm moving into a new location, can we ask in the records, is this the highest and best location for me? Do I have karma to learn? Is there something that's blocking me in my business in this location or in any other ways? What else can we clear and remove or delete? And a lot of that kind of information would kind of come up. So we'd probably do a lot of energy clearing on that building, on that earth, if there is a curse on that, or if it's sometimes built on a negative vortex, or all of that kind of information. And so often it's very useful even to ask in your records before you choose to start an office at a certain address? Is this the highest and best place for me to rent? You know, what do I want to learn from this? Is there karma to finish, right? So you can do some of this before you're in there. So it's kind of a business plan working in your Akashic Records.
And how about moving into new homes?
Yeah, same thing. Absolutely. So, you know, I have plenty of clients come to me. So, you know, many of us, there's a lot of dark energies and entities. And so the thing with the kind of the dark forces that have been here, especially really heavily since the Dark Ages. So for the last 1,000 years, they kind of would like to keep the earth in a place of stasis and darkness. So many of us have those energies in our space. What I find in the records is that we have soul contracts with these entities or these beings that are usually unembodied now. But either we may have used them in a past life to give us power, or maybe they were a teacher or a mentor or a dark force embodied in another lifetime that we have a soul contract with. So we can go back into these past lives and clear these old soul contracts and bring all of that into present time. So we're disengaging from this dark energy on many different levels, physically, through past lives, through vows, through soul contracts, through karma. So really try and disengage all of the energy that's not in alignment to your highest soul purpose is really kind of my vision of working in the records. What can I do to help you clear blocks, release old karma, get rid of old vows that are holding you back? Step into your gifts and talents and power to align to your highest soul plan.
How about illnesses? Is that something that's in there or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Because often illnesses are caused by blocked emotions, kind of stuffed old energy. And sometimes it's other people's energy that we've taken on. We may have taken on our mother's illness or a child's illness or a friend's illness. And some of these come from past lives in which we were healers. And the healing modality we used, which was to take on someone else's illness, and then we transform it and drop it out of our bodies. So we're still taking it on, but we don't consciously remember how to transform it and drop it out of our bodies anymore. So we're unconsciously taking on other people's energy, which may be heavy or dark or traumatic, and our body is transforming this into, you know, on the physical plane, an illness.
I can kind of see that being a parent, and you know, you've got a child who's sick or hurting or whatever, and you just want to take that away from them.
Right, of course, of course. You know, and some of the things that we can do are one of the very simple tools that the Akashic record keepers have really want everybody to do is to learn to create really healthy, strong, clear boundaries for yourself. And one of the ways that I do this is through using two of the healing prayers. One is to clear other people out of your energy field, from your space.
One of the ways is to clear out the individuals that are, you know, say that again. What are the two ways?
Right. So the two ways, or the two healing prayers that you can use to clear people and energies out of your space are a healing prayer to clear others from your energy field and clear entities and energy patterns. So this is clearing people, which can be your family, your children, you know, other people in your life out of your space, because often they want to control us and run us around. And we want to clear the dark entities that might be hanging around, as well as energy patterns, which might be just like a pattern, looks sometimes almost like a cage around us.
Huh.
And they kind of grow through our lives, and they're built on energy pictures and sometimes pain. So we clear other people and entities and energy patterns out of our space every day, and then we fill ourselves with our highest Akashic and cosmic golden light and energy that we can hold in our body and in our whole auric field. And then we add a rainbow shield with the intention that no one and nothing can enter my energy field without my permission. So it's called the Rainbow Shield, and that's also a meditation down my website. And this is one of the things the Akashic Masters keep talking about, simple tools to help grounded to space. This helps us to guarded and protected. So it's easier to do what we've come to do in life. So that process, that little 3-step process, 2 prayers and a little meditation, help us to align to our soul and to really create with greater ease what we've come to create in this life.
Oh, very good.
So
there was one thing I was thinking when you were talking about curses, that you have to be careful with, I didn't want anybody to get the idea, oh, curses work, so I'm going to get into that. Because there are some people I like to get even with. You have to be careful because a lot of the times when you send out energy, it can boomerang.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's why it's good to always work in the light, because if that boomerangs, great,
You also have
because that's causing karma.
It's what?
It's creating karma for yourself. If you're cursing someone, you're creating karma for your.
Right. And you want to send out the love to everyone, and hopefully you get it back.
Just out of curiosity, Lisa,
right.
when you work with individuals, do you see auras around individuals?
Not particularly. So everybody sees, and notices energy. Excuse me. I'm working in kind of the bigger Akashic field, so I don't tend to, unless the Akashic Masters, I do it, kind of work with the aura and the chakras. But many times there will be stuck pain or trauma or a past life death picture that might be stuck in a chakra, pain and trauma in your 4th chakra in your heart. A lot of times have 1st chakra, 2nd chakra death pictures that make it hard to embody and to be really grounded. So a lot of times I'll go as part of the healing process and work with clearing energy and patterns and people out of your auric field and your chakras.
Very good, very good. Hey, we're talking with Lisa Barnette. Lisa's webpage, really a good website. It's www.akashicknowing.com.
And it's right below her name over there.
And she has a wide variety of different educational tools for individuals interested in improving their lives, dealing with negative energies. One of the biggest questions that many individuals have is, how come I'm not making enough money? And I would venture to say that that's one area when you're dealing with individuals, is to help them to better understand money's energy, and how we deal with that energy really determines how much or how little we have. Care to share a little bit of wisdom on money?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about vows of poverty that come from spiritual lives, where we've said, I'm not going to take money for my spiritual gifts. So that's kind of the vow of poverty part. But there's another really interesting piece that also very often come from different spiritual lives, but sometimes we also kind of get it from our ancestral lineage, our families, our grandparents. And it looks kind of like this. It's like all you have to hold your good, your abundance, is this little bowl. right? So imagine if I was an ascetic, say in ancient India, and I would stand and all I want is a bite of rice. That's all I'm asking for. That's my abundance. This is what people use, I see in their energy field, is just this very small receivingness, this very small ability to talk about the abundance of the universe is really here for you. But if all you have is a tiny little bowl, that's all you're going to get, right? So as soon as it fills up, it goes away. It runs over, it goes away. So a lot of times clients will say, well, money comes in, but it immediately disappears. I don't know what happens to it. It's like, I give it away. I don't feel like I deserve it.
Well, you do make a very good point in the fact that our own attitudes and our own belief structures really affect any kind of energy. And, money is one of those things that a lot of people have a lot of unique belief systems about it.
Yeah, like the root of all evil thing.
Yeah, root of all evil, and I don't want to be greedy.
All right.
And that's an attitudinal kind of thing that really hurts us if it's the wrong kind of attitude.
Yeah, and this is we are holding unconsciously that money is bad. That if you have a lot of money, it's because you're a crook or you're dishonest, right?
That's right. You're right.
So
you're absolutely
all of
right.
that, and then you add, let's expand our ability to receive and back. So it's about and letting it be an abundant flow, having a big receivingness bowl, not a little bitty baby, begging bowl, right?
You're absolutely correct. And we're not being greedy.
So,
it's our right to have as much money as we need and as we would like to use, as long as we use it in a positive way. If we trample on another individual, another human being, then we're misusing that.
Right. Yes, I agree. And as we're raising our vibration and here to be of service to the planet, what I'm finding is more spiritual people, are coming to make more money because we're letting go of those old vows that say, oh gosh, I can't take money for my spiritual gifts. But we're donating it back. We're giving it back. We're, all is to use this money, this abundance in the world to help to transform other people's lives as well as our own. So it really is a great gift when we can allow the abundance to flow to us and through us and back out to the good of the world.
Lisa, how can individuals, what's the best way of contacting you if they would like to find out more or have a one-on-one session with you?
Well, I've set up my website, so it's all very easy there. So at akashicknowing.com, you'll see a consultation page where you literally would just purchase a reading and you'll get more information. You'll get a link, to click on to schedule your appointment. So I make it really easy so you can just kind of do it all yourself. There is a contact page if people have questions. So you can always go to the contact me and email me through the contact page on my website. And you'll see my home study classes. You'll see my different classes that are being offered. And so just tons of information on my website. That's really a great place to get started.
And the two books that you have, From Questioning to Knowing, 73 different prayers that will transform your life. And then The Infinite Wisdom of Akashic Records. And you also have a free gift, Prayers of Self-Love gift book.
Yes, right on my website. So you can always go there and just, sign up and download the self-love prayers, because it's one of the things the Akashic Masters have said to us is that self-love is the place to start with our own healing and awakening. So it's important for us to love ourselves so that we can love others, so that we can love the world unconditionally, and we can awaken to the divine energy of the universe.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when you talk to people, how many people don't, It seems like it would be a really easy thing to love yourself, but a lot of people just don't have the self-loathing or not good enough and all this other
Yeah, that is
stuff.
true. That is true.
It's one of the bigger problems that produces other problems.
Sure.
Right.
Lisa, I want to, we really appreciate you coming on. We would love to have you back on, down the next couple of months, etc. Maybe there's some updates that you can give the listening audience, but it has really been a pleasure having you on as an Akashic consultant and a teacher and an educator. We really appreciate your taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Good.
It's lovely to meet you too. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Mike, and to our listeners, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.